Personnel Battles, we are back live on location and on a different shoot. This time there's no pancakes or waffles or coffee. But where am I? Well, this is the man cave of my brother Steve. And if you look around, I'll put it on the pod, you can see all the models he makes, and they are quite good. But why am I here? Well, I want to get Steve's idea of the human spirit, trauma and things he's witnessed in his career, because he's had quite the career. He's a retired firefighter, so I want to cover things that he's seen, what was in place, what kind of support people had when he first joined the brigade, and towards the end it everything changed. So, hello Steve and welcome to the podcast.
Hello little brother. You all right?
Hello big brother.
Hello mate.
Great to have you on the podcast, Steve. Thanks for doing this. It's going to be something a bit different as well.
Yeah.
Just me and you and have a good chat.
Mm-hmm.
So first of all, let's go into the brigade. When did you join, Steve?
I joined the fire service in 1989.
89.
Yeah, I served 30 years and left just under 5 years ago in April 19. And I spent all that time at operational stations, so I was always what we would see on the run. So I was always on a fire appliance.
Right. Yeah.
And I served numerous stations throughout the county.
Right.
And you know, you spend time at every station, because even when people are on the sick at other stations, you would backfill. So every single station I have spent some time on. And we were splitting the watches, so you know, I was on white watch for most of my career, but ended up on blues and things like that.
And you just mentioned the other day, I didn't realise that, because the fire brigade is based on the Navy, isn't it? And that's where the watch came from.
The watch systems are based on, there's 4 watches these days: red, white, green and blue. And that's from the Royal Navy. They have the watches on a ship. You do 4 hours on watch,
right,
and then somebody else comes in, takes over for the next 4 hours. So their systems are called watches. And when we were set up, I think we were kind of, there was a lot of ex-Royal Navy personnel in the fire service when it was initially set up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about 1947 it was really, when it was done just after the war. It was really set up properly and nationally up to then. Every county had sort of done its own thing, but 1947 was when it was set up as a sort of on a national basis. So up to that time, sort of different brigades would have different equipment.
Mm-hmm.
So if you went from one county into another county because there was a big fire going on, and you pulled up, your hose might not necessarily connect into theirs.
Right.
Yeah, it wasn't a situation where, you know what I mean?
Right.
So it was decided in 1947 that we're going to get organised properly after the war. Make it a lot more professional, standardise kit training and things like that. And then if you had a massive fire or an incident in one county area, everybody else from the neighbouring brigades would be able to come in, and everybody would have roughly the same level of training and kit and things like that, and procedures as well. So when you were wearing breathing apparatus, I think in the early days we all use compressed air now, but back then some were using like oxygen.
All right.
So just valves would be different and things wouldn't connect up. So I had to get it organised. So that was from 1947.
And when you left, Steve, what rank were you?
I was a crew manager, which, if you think about it, I was kind of like a corporal in the army.
Oh, right.
So I spent most of my time sort of in charge of a fire engine. So, you know, like, well, when I started my career, there'll be 5 of us on an appliance, but by the time you got to the 4 with all the cuts, you were down to 4. So you'd be yourself and 3 or 4 other firefighters who make up a little, the little team kind of thing.
It's interesting when you say, like, you must have started at 89, so that would have made me about 9. And obviously, it's like looking up to me big brother and stuff. There is a huge correlation between Steve starting the fire service and me collecting little fire engines, because like it just looked up to him so much, and like I wanted fire engines and got used to Steve coming home from his work and just got used to him smelling of smoke.
Yeah, I used to stink sometimes.
Yeah,
well, that was all the way through. You'd come back and you'd have a shower, and you come back and you would, I still stink.
Yeah.
You know, it'd still be like in your pores sort of thing. And 2 or 3 days later, you'd be at home and you'd be like, listen, Well, at the minute, we're having a lot of legal battles with the government because we're seeing like what you would call smoke. It's all got sexy names now. It's all the products of combustion. But they're kind of like everybody's waking up that it can cause cancers and things like that.
Right.
So when you look at the figures now, there's a disproportionately high number of firefighters dying of various cancers.
Oh, right. And it's
So
because of what they were around.
that's what we're just starting to push now.
Right. Yeah.
So we're working on that anyway, or at least the union is.
Because I remember when I was young as well, I used to always be quizzing you as well regarding like all the terms and stuff for the fire engines and the different names for them, the ETs, the TLs, HPs.
Yeah, well, it's
I
fascinating when you're a kid, isn't it?
Because it was such a new world to open up to.
Yeah, it's a bit. I always think if you join you're a firefighter. It's a bit like saying you're an astronaut. Or it's got a bit of glam to it and things like that, isn't it? People kind of like it.
Yeah. So let's move over, Steve. I want to ask you this one. What was it like when you first joined the brigade? Was there any support for, like trauma that you were going to have to face when you first started? Was there any kind of conversations regarding that?
No, I don't think there was, no. Certainly nothing official. And even towards the end of my career, there wasn't a great deal in place other than you did have mechanisms where we could flash it over to like occupational health, and they could, in theory, get you some sort of therapy or somebody to talk to and things like that. So there was things in place, but it was never like that at the beginning. It was always down to just self-therapy. We would go to an incident, and whatever it may have been, you would run on adrenaline for the job kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it was when you got back to the station, I was saying it'd be 2 o'clock in the morning, you would get back to the station after a car crash or a fire. And you would spend an hour cleaning kit up, replacing the compressed air cylinders on your set, replacing all the fuel, the diesel and the appliances, just all the nuts and bolts, testing it, because obviously we had to be ready to run out with the next one kind.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until you'd done that, you maybe had a shower because you rubbed your eyes and you still had that bit buzz to you.
Right.
You need to just gently just settle down, You kind of go from 100 miles an hour to nothing, and just like that, it takes a little bit of time to.
Yeah. So
we would just sit around the table with a cup of tea at 2 o'clock in the morning and just. That was a bit, wasn't it? Yeah. And you just talk amongst yourselves about it. And you would have, there's no doubt about it, you have black humour about it.
Yeah.
But we weren't awful about it because that was within the group. We kept it amongst ourselves.
Right.
So if you were at that incident or with, fellow firefighters kind of thing, you could talk about it, but you didn't go out to the pub and chit-chat. It stayed within the group because we've all been there, we all understood it. You could just...
You knew no one there was taking it lightly.
Yeah.
It was just you're all coping with it.
Yeah.
And that kind of dark
And that's
humour.
the way it always was. I often think we were different to other people in the emergency services. Well, not so much the emergency services, but I always compare ourselves to the military. And I thought to myself, what is there a difference between us and the military? And I think the main difference is, if you're in the army, say you're in Afghanistan, people who you saw really badly hurt or dead were often your friends and your colleagues. And that's not something we ever came across in the fire service. We were encountering members of the public people would never seen before. It was them who were hurt or who had died in a fire or whatever. So you had a kind of degree of separation behind it.
Yeah.
And there was many times you would think maybe you've been to a car crash. I remember going to car crashes and things many times, Alan, and somebody would die and die in the most traumatic way.
Right.
One of those bang, and you're over, and we would come backwards and kind of like, is there a positive in that?
Yeah.
But what do we take out of that? But if you think about it, it was nearly always something we were able to kind of salvage from the mess.
Really? Being the most traumatic event?
Yeah.
Still some sort of
we could see you would pull up and you would see they were alive when we got there, but they died within an hour. What's the positive in that? Well, the positive is we were with them.
Right.
One of us was holding a hand. The paramedics were there.
Wow.
We nearly always had what we call a casualty care. One of us would either be on your own when you first arrive till the paramedics arrive.
All right, and that was their job, was it?
Yeah,
You just
kind of. Yeah, you just drop on. You go casualty care, or the paramedics would be there, and you would just be helping.
Wow.
You know, hold this bottle, cut the trouser leg off, kind of thing.
Yeah.
All that kind of thing. So what could you take out of a positive? Well, you were there when they died, so you were holding the hand, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you would. There's a degree of solace you can take in that, I think, because it must be an awful thing to die on your own. If you had a car crash and you went into a ditch, imagine that, and you died because you hear about these stories. A car doesn't get seen for 2 or 3 days.
Yeah. Stuck there.
And you die on your own, knowing it was going to happen. That would be horrendous. But at least in that situation, people say, "Well, we were there. They weren't alone. There was a human being with them." And if we got them out and they died a couple of days later in hospital, which often happened, again you think, well, okay, what's the benefit for that? Well, we got them out, we got them to a hospital, and when they did pass, they had their families with them, holding their hands around the old hospital bed,
got
kind
a
of
chance
thing.
for the family to get there. Yeah.
And if we got there and they'd already died, well, there's nothing we could have done.
Right.
They were dead when we pulled out the station. And there's nothing we could have done. So there was a kind of art, I think, that's maybe not the right word, but a way where you could see well, it didn't go as we planned, but we were at least able to help in a way to relieve the suffering, and, you know what I mean? And it's quite funny. I've got certain memories of certain jobs quite clearly, and I have like specific memories of them jobs on a part of which should be meaningless. I remember we went to a car crash. It was on a summer afternoon. It was about 4:30. Nice day, beautiful day, blue skies, one of them lovely British summer's day, you know. And a young couple in a sports car, windy country roads. He'd come off, I think he'd hit a tree. So and we got there, and he was out the car, young lad, maybe he's about 30, and he was heartbroken, absolutely heartbroken. There was a mark on him, and it was because his girlfriend was still sat inside it, and she was dead. She was dead on impact.
Right.
When we got there, we were second in. There was another fire engine getting there. Maybe he's only with a minute ahead of us. A car crash, he sent 2 out. And he would send 2 just to get the numbers up straight away. So we'd get immediately on the call, car crash, somebody's in it, person's report, as we called it.
Yep.
2 appliances, at least 2 a car crash. 3 if it was a house. And I remember we come around the corner, we pulled up there, and I could see one of the other firefighters from the other appliances trying to do hard compressions on her as she sat in the car, which, you know, it's virtually ineffective, but he just pulled up. She wasn't breathing. Let's give it a go. We always give it a go.
Just try,
And I ran over to him. I said, "Are you all right, mate?" He says, "I can't get her out. I can't get her out." And I said, "What's the matter?" Because she was just sat there. The car itself was relatively damage-free on her side. And he said, "It's something about her feet." And I looked down, and I remember clear as day, she'd taken her shoes off and put them in the footwell. And the footwell was, you know, perfectly clear, nothing had been impinged,
right.
Just the way it was. So her shoes had sat there, and she was sitting there just in her stocking feet. And just a picture of a car, and you're driving around with your boyfriend, the music on, lovely day, just kick your shoes off, it'd be lovely, wouldn't it? And as the car hit the tree, a sock must have gotten caught, and you know where the gear stick is? You know, that sort of, it's a plastic tray that goes over the tunnel.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, it's got like an ashtray and a cup holder in it. And a sock had gone under there and getting wedged. And only by a couple of mil. He tried pulling the foot, and I just went up. And a foot wouldn't move. And I had to dive into the footwell. And it took us, 15 seconds to pull his sock off. And that's just why that is stuck with me is beyond me. But I remember, and I think it was just because I can just imagine it, kicking the shoes off, doing the most mundane, driving around with a smile on the face, and then boom.
Yeah.
That happens out of the blue. And we dragged her out and we worked on her, but she never came round. And I remember the lad was stood there with, I think, a couple of police officers by the time, and I remember he's crying his eyes out saying, what am I going to tell my mum and dad?
Yeah.
And I think, aye, what are you going to say? Because it's going to take some spinning, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think there's always periods in a life when you always think, well, I remember that event. And whatever you judge your life by, it'll always be before and after that event, whatever it is. You know what I mean? The death of a loved one or whatever. You'll always remember what it was like beforehand, and then things will just be completely different
after that moment.
Yeah. And so just little things like that. And I remember that night as well, because that was late on in the afternoon. And I came back home. We were still there at the end of our shift.
Right.
And our night shift came over to take over from us. So I was back home about 45 minutes after I'd been there. I got home, I've got two daughters.
Yeah.
They were about 8 and 10 at the time, that sort of age, and they were arguing about some absolute trivial thing. I think one of them had 3 fish fingers and the other one had 4 for the tea, and they were kicking off with each other. I just couldn't handle it.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, I just thought, God, I just had to walk away and sit in my own for 20 minutes. Just thinking, that's enough, lad.
Yeah.
We've got each other.
Yeah.
We're all alive.
Yeah.
It's just, it was just a little kid's thing.
Yeah.
But
I've often thought about that, Steve.
I still remember that.
Like when you come home from like certain shouts like that, it must like prioritise your life, and you see things, and even like your daughters at that age, you think if you go to a lot of shouts with like motorbikes, whatever, you're never getting a motorbike. It's almost like that protection. It's like how do you live like that without like bringing your work home with you?
Yeah, I mean, I remember like people in the Second World War who fly Lancasters would go on a bombing mission or like a fighter pilot would come back and then like an hour later would be in the pub having a drink.
Yeah.
And before that, they'd been risking life and limb kind of thing. It was a bit like it's such a massive contrast.
Yeah.
Sometimes between what you're doing at work and then back to reality or your reality kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think one thing that's always stood in my mind is the fragility of life. Not only the sort of the almost impossibility of any of us existing. I mean, what are the chances of me and your mum and dad hooking up?
Yeah.
And there's millions and millions of people. They hook up and you're one of their children of our thousands and millions of permutations it could be. Just simply being alive is such a
and it was even with our mum and dad as well. It's such an odd thing, Steve, isn't it? Because my dad was in a nightclub and my mum was going to see him inside the nightclub. My dad would be waiting outside to pay her in as well, so he'd be inside. And my mum said a few times, hasn't she, that she was actually thinking about not going.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a crossroads moment. You would go into this club and see this person for a date, or just go to pictures.
Yeah.
It's like, what would have happened to us?
It's
just them like little tiny moments.
What's it, the Sliding Door, the film?
Yeah.
What ifs?
Yeah.
And there's a billion what ifs for every single one of us. Once we're alive.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you do this job, meet a different partner, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So the fragility of life's always absolutely stood with us. The slim chance of you even existing and how quickly it can be taken away from you. Or you don't have to die either. I remember one day we went to a car crash and a young nurse, she's probably about 26, 27, driving along the road. Well, what was it? Sometime again, maybe it's 6:30, so it was like low sun.
Right.
Driving along the road, she'd gone over the brow of a hill and there was a lorry parked beside the road. He got lost and he just pulled over, tried to figure out
where it was.
Yeah, and she went over and he just stood in a bad place without thinking properly. And she went over the top of the hill, bang, straight in the back of the skip wagon, spun it round into a ditch. It took us about a quarter of an hour. It kept away. Them gorse winnie bushes.
Oh yeah.
She was on one of them. I mean, right in the middle of it. We used the car crash stuff to hack our way through. About 10 minutes to get to a kind of thing almost.
Yeah.
And then a big front impact, and the engine comes forward and goes onto your legs, kind of thing. And I was casualty care of that day, and the lads were taking the door off. They always do B plan first. B plan is what happens if you have to drag them out, even if you've got spinal injuries, kind of thing.
They have to come up.
Yeah, there's a B plan. So the door comes off, and then we sort of, if they're stable enough, we'll do a more controlled extrication, and that normally means taking the roof off, and then those you'll see them on the casualty and all that, the long yellow or long boards.
Like spinal boards,
Put them on, that kind of thing. So we were doing that, and I remember I was lying over the bonnet. We'd take the windscreen out, or pop when we got there. I can't remember which, but so she was looking at me, and she was like squeezing my hand dead tight in her leg from a bad way, and she was alternating between cursing the driver and cursing life, and just being, but she was a dead brave lass. And it took maybe half an hour to get her out, kind of thing. And I remember, because you can't sugarcoat sometimes, the paramedics were there giving her, morphine and all this, but it was still going to hurt when we moved her. I remember saying, right, just hold my hand, and I was over the nurse. We're going to move you now. Now you're coming out. Okay. Yeah. Just like intensity looking at you.
Focus, right?
Just me and her. Yeah. Take this deep breath, right? Okay, yeah. Here we go. Right, okay. We pulled her up, and I always remember that. Just always remember me and her just looking at each other. Yeah. And I was saying, "You're coming out now, right?" I said, "We're going to get you out. We're going to get you out now." Yeah. And she lost one leg below the knee, and I think the other one they said would never kind of work properly again, So that was life-changing stuff for her. Yeah.
And that's another interesting thing I've always found as well, isn't it? When you talk about like wrong place, wrong time thing, it's like sometimes you're talking like seconds, aren't you?
Well, you pull up a junction 3 seconds or 3 earlier or later, you would get wiped out by a truck.
You'd never know.
And you would never know, would you?
Yeah. If you were slightly delayed that morning, if you got to put the bin out and go back and then go on your journey, you would never know that. If you hadn't done that bin thing beforehand, your life would be completely different.
Just flukes.
Just absolute flukes, isn't it? Wow.
Yeah. So I have, I think like most of us in the fire service and the emergency service, you have these little memories which I'm lucky enough because I put them in little shoeboxes, I think, kind of thing in my head.
Right.
But I'm sort of in control of the shoeboxes. So they're at the back there, and I pull them out every now and again, and have a little look at them and then put them back. Or if you're driving past somewhere, you think, oh, I remember that. Right?
Yeah, brings out a memory.
Aye. But I don't get haunted by it.
Yeah. You don't wake up at night hearing screams or anything like that.
No, nothing like that.
Would you see your personality has changed, Steve, because of your job? Or has it always been the same?
No, I think it did. It changes in the fact that I became more self-confident, I think, as I got older.
Oh, right.
More. When I first started, I remember thinking, oh, God, I can't let the lads down here. And it was predominantly male then. I can't let anybody down. Don't want to cut up in this fire. We'd wear in pairs, sort of thing. I was adamant I was going to do it right. And then as you get older, more experience, you become the one people talk to about advice and things like that. So you can't really remember when it happened.
Right, and suddenly
at some point in the future, people start asking, "What do you think we should do with this, Stevie? What are we going to do here? What's the plan for this?" And confidence as well is, I mean, sometimes we would go to a fire and I'd just have to go, doing this, we're doing that, right?
Yep.
And things would just happen. And there was other type of instances you would get there, and it wasn't so time critical or something, that you could just say, right, I think we should do this. Does anybody else got a better idea than that? And people would chirp up and think, actually, we could, let's do that,
Okay.
And it's having the ability and the confidence to say, well, I thought my plan was okay, but actually yours is maybe a little bit better, and we'll do that, And building trust with your teammates, it always sounds a bit corny, I think, you know what I mean? We'll live together, we'll fought the beast together and all that nonsense. But you do become like a little family, a little group, because you're all relying on each other.
Oh, hugely, yeah.
And you all trained to the same standard, so to a degree, you know that person next to you can be here safely, because when you go into a fire, you've only got your teammate with it to look after you, kind of thing. It's used to versus the world, because you can't surrender to a fire. It's just trying to kill you.
But it must be tough as well, because you're pretty much meeting people on the worst day of their lives, aren't you? And then I remember you seeing a lot of the time, Steve, which I was quite surprised by, is like, you never ever get closure, do you, on what actually happens to that person? A lot of the time they'll go back to ambulance and that's it.
Yeah.
You know, did I make a difference? Did I help?
Yeah.
Did they survive?
I mean, particularly in the early days, that's it. They were in the back of the ambulance, unless the. So it's always slightly unusual.
Would you see was there any particularly close calls you'd say for yourself, Steve, that you look back and go, oof, that could have been it? And then, cause I was thinking at times maybe you wouldn't tell family members at the time as well. It's like, you know, I was almost squeaky bum time that one. Like,
there's been a couple of times in fires. I don't think at car crashes or anything like that you ever really feared for your own safety, because it had happened.
Yeah.
The event had
but the
happened,
fire is still
and
ongoing.
you were mopping up, kind of thing. Fires were different, because fires were a dynamic, moving, physical thing. Like, and as I said before, you can't just go, oh, okay, I can't give up. It's just trying to kill you. And there was a few times when I was in fires, I thought, I've got to get switched on here, because you can go into a building, and it's a big building as well. It's not like on the telly where you see the flames and there's a bit of smoke whispering around.
Right.
It just isn't like that.
So what is it like?
You just go in, and it's just like you've got your eyes shut, even though they're wide open. It's just black.
Right.
You know, or sometimes a very dark grey, depending on what the composition of the smoke is, kind of.
But you'll go into a room, you've no idea what's in there.
Yeah.
No way out.
But in a house, you can all right. You can fumble around, kind of thing. And we're always supposed to stick together in a pair to look after each other. But you know, I shouldn't be saying, but in the real world, you would stick together. But if you thought somebody's upstairs and the fire was downstairs, you would split. One would take the fire, and you know, one would go running around upstairs trying to find. So you've got to live in the real world a little bit. Yeah. But there was a few times when I had fires, I just thought, I'm going to have one November 18, the big factory up at Concert.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember thinking, this is ludicrous, because it was a big building, really heavily smoke load, and a lot of flame. And we had one of these thermal imaging cameras, which are brilliant. And we got in. As we pulled up, one of the guys who worked at the factory was saying, it's through there, like there was a massive roller shutter door, like for 2 lorries to get in, and that was up. And he said, it's through there. And I could see where he was pointing from the outside, because it wasn't too bad at this time. He said, go through there, lads. There's a mezzanine floor, which is one of those like metal grill things.
Yep.
Go through there, then turn right. Down there about 20 yards, and then first left. I'm not going down there, first right now. Right. And it's there, and he says, right, okay. And then the smoke just went from 15, 20 feet now, down to about 3 feet in about 30 seconds.
Right.
And you could just see it.
Oh.
Black. And we pulled up right in front of these roller shutters, because this will be a good entry point here. And Green was in charge at this time, another lad. So we then had to reverse the trucks out the yard as quick as we could, because we were getting engulfed. I mean, the truck was just in smoke. You could be stood beside it this far and you wouldn't see it.
You wouldn't see it was a truck there.
So we had to pull out from the truck, and then so it took us maybe 5 minutes to rejig, because we then had to run hose from the truck back to where we'd just been, to the roller shutter. So the time we'd done all that, and then I remember seeing the colleague who was wearing, like, okay, are you ready? Yeah, because he was fairly new as well. And then we went, because I remembered, I couldn't say anything when I went in, but I remember okay, there's a mezzanine floor over that we are in. And you have to, when you go in, you have to stick on the wall close. I know I've told you before, but the wall is your way in and your way out. If you get stuck in the middle of a big open space, you're really up in gears, because disorientation, you've no idea which way you came in or the way out or anything like that. So you've got to stick on the wall. You've got to have some sort of reference point. And we went in on the right hand wall, found our way at this little mezzanine floor, and then we just I don't know, we got lucky, but we remember the route where the guy described.
Right.
We got to the fire, and Nick had a thermal imaging camera with him, and he looked at something. When we were just looking, we took just black out, just black. But you knew you were getting there because you could feel the heat coming off you.
Yeah.
So you feel the heat on your face,
We still can see it.
turn round kind of thing, and it's not as hot.
Right.
So you know, like it's this way.
Yeah.
That was one of the sort of clues you could use to. And he picked up the thermal. Stevie, you could see the flames on the thermal imaging camera, but when you put it down, it's just black nonsense.
Yeah.
So we had the jet, turned the jet on, and the water was flying over, and you could see on the thermal imaging camera that we were hitting it.
Right.
But it was a very, very. It was dangerous. It was a dangerous way. I mean, it's a couple of times because I was I was senior to the lad I was with. And I was thinking to myself, should we just pull out of here because this is getting crazy? But we stuck with it, and then we had to be relieved by another team. So another team had to, after about half an hour we'd been in there, another team had to follow our hose round.
Right.
And they get to where we are, we tell them what's happening.
Right, and they take over.
And they take over, and then we key them back out. And I mean, this must be about an hour into the fire. It was still going reasonably well. And I knew at that stage when we handed it over that we were getting on top of it because you could feel the heat on your face, wasn't it?
Right. It's your temperature
it's
on your face.
virgin. You think, Christ, it's like standing there with the oven door open at home, when you're putting your Yorkshire puddings in.
Yeah.
And you get that,
Just the hit of heat.
it's like that. And then that has just started to wear down a little bit. So I thought, well, we're getting on top of it. And then we had to go back in because there was nobody else. Everybody else was doing other things,
Right.
I remember the lad in charge said, can we come back and stay? Yeah. We'll go back. Even when I wasn't knackered. But yes, I remember. So there are fires like that when you think this is time to be switched on, stay focused. You know what I mean? And just be really, really aware where you are and what you're doing, and concentrate on how you got to where you are and how we're going to get out if you have to. Like you have a little gauge on your base set. So you went in with 280 atmospheres, right? Like when you got there, you might have used 40 to get to the fire. So to get out, you need to leave the fire with at least 40 to get back.
Yep.
To get back outside. Because if you run out of air and you're still inside, it's game over.
Wow.
So you have to do these like mental calculations all the time. How much air you got? I've got 80.
Oh no! So in a more stressful situation, you're still trying to do maths as
you're
well.
still trying to communicate with each other, still trying to shout at each other because of masks. And it's a nightmare trying to talk to each other. And then you've got radio over this, so you're trying to talk to the people outside. So you're trying to keep your messages short, so you just see your call sign, Alpha 1. See Alpha 1, we're at the fire. Nice and short. Control from Alpha 1, water going on the fire. Conditions improved, and they just very short messages so they can understand what you're saying. You don't see anything, 2 paragraphs, nice and short. So yes, fires were definitely the worst for Squeaky Bum.
Wow.
But at the end, it's funny because for the last 10 or 15 years, I think, I enjoyed them.
What, the big ones?
I enjoyed
the
them.
adrenaline.
Again, I think it's like if you were in the army and people say it was, careful of your word, it was good to be fighting for real because you.
Different to training.
Because this is what it was for. This is what it was about. Combat kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think I had a little bit of that when I was in a big fire. You thinking, this is what not blow your own trumpet, but you think I'm pretty good at this. I'm all right at it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And like when you got back from those like big shouts like that, today for shouts like a call out to a big fire like that, and you had to deal with something pretty bad like a fatality. Did you talk about it afterwards?
Yes.
You got around.
Yeah.
And anyone like without like any peer pressure, if everyone was in a circle and saying like everybody okay and yes, would anyone speak up and say, well, no, or that's tough that?
At the end of the incident, we were all supposed to gather around and have what we call a hot debrief. And that's when we would discuss what we did, why we did it, what went well, what went badly, what could we have done differently, all these little, and it's called a hot debrief, and everybody gets a chance to chip in.
Right.
Everybody's view is as valued as anybody else, so, the person, the chief fire officer, got to come down, and their input would have been no more relevant than whoever was driving the first fire engine and that kind of thing. So everybody gets a chance to input, and a part of that is always, and certainly when I joined, it was always everybody all right, everybody hurt, which meant everybody sprained an ankle,
physically,
cut the knee.
Yeah.
But as we got better at it, it was always like, if anybody's feeling, that was a lot going on there, wasn't it? I mean, we all know that was a lot going on.
Yeah.
If you want to talk about and then you speak to me, whoever was in charge, that's not quite enough for you. We can pass you on in confidence kind of thing to occupational health, and they could address that with maybe a bit of a therapy and people there to talk you through it and kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that was certainly getting put in place.
Right.
And when I left, but it wasn't really there to begin with.
Now you're retired, Steve, and you look back. How does it make you feel?
I think I'm proud of what I did, but I'm also proud that I did it. Because when I left school at 16, and I got a job in the civil service, child benefit, and after about 2 years, I had an epiphany when I was
Did you?
I was 17 and 18. I thought, I'm not doing this till I'm 65 or whatever it was then. I can't do this. It's not. It was all right then. It was great then because I got me peer, give me mum £3 board money, and then went to the pub,
and
you just have that sort of young person's life, don't you? But even by about 18 or 19, I thought, no. I want something a bit more worthy, I think, something a bit more entertaining.
Right.
And that's when I tried to join the Navy.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to join the Navy as an officer, cocked that up. I did Portsmouth and Field the Admiralty interview board. I'd already applied for the fire service a couple of months before then. Got back from then, thought, okay, well, I haven't got in the Navy as an officer, what should I do now? And I was with my wife then, which wasn't my wife, just my girlfriend then. She said, well, and she said, I think the fire service has reapplied. Maybe this was 6 months later. I thought, I failed once. So should I do it again? She went, no, go for it. Yeah, this is one of those classic sliding door moments. And I was, go on, we'll have another bash. Yeah. And the second time I applied, I remember, right, we're going to get an interview here. We're going to get an interview. Sat down, and in those days you had an application form, pen and paper kind of thing. And I remember, that things like washing your hands, put newspaper or white paper around the application form, so if I rested on it, I wouldn't leave a mark.
All right.
And I'd say, well, that line is that long. I'm going to put the first line of my address on that and write down a bit of paper. And just did it. Took us an hour and a half to do something I could have scrolled down in 15 minutes. Did it perfectly. And then it was just a question of being committed to the idea kind of thing. Saying, right, I'm going to go for this. I'm going to do it properly. I'm not going to walk away from this saying, if only I'd spent another 20 minutes doing this or whatever,
you got consistent, haven't you?
So I applied for this. That was the second time I applied for the fire service and got in, and it was great. But I know if I hadn't, I would have either joined the Navy as a sailor, lower down, or I would have, I don't know, maybe police, prison service, but I would have found something that I wanted to do rather than at that time I was doing something because it paid us a bit of money.
And you wanted more than that? Yeah,
I just wanted a bit more adventure. I wanted to do something that made it's a bit corny, isn't it, but made a difference. And
definitely,
that was exciting and worthwhile. I did not, I never really went for promotion in the fire brigade. I always wanted to stay on the trucks. Yeah. Because I'd been in the civil service for 4 years, child.
So you didn't want to go to an office?
And and I thought, well, if you come off the trucks, you go to headquarters and you're pushing pushing the pen around, you're shining the chair with your arse, I didn't want to do that. So that's why I was never particularly keen on getting off the trucks. And station life was great because you'd have just a bunch of people who trusted each other kind of thing. I mean, there was as many arses in the fire services. There isn't any other organisation. But you've accepted that we're no different than anybody else, but it was a very worthwhile job and we all loved it. And thought was great. Great. Adventure. I mean, the idea you could be at work, and I was there for 30 years.
Yeah.
You could, if you went to work, and at any point in that time I was there, I never knew what I'd be doing in 9 minutes' time.
Right, yeah.
You know?
You never know what's in the corner.
You know,
No day was ever the same,
Yeah.
and that's how you've got like hundreds of stories.
Yeah.
It could be a cat up a tree, it could be a house fire.
It amazes me sometimes. I think I do have a lot of nonsense going on in my head about the funny stuff and whatnot like that, and cats up trees and all that.
Because like every day was different, isn't
Yeah.
it? But when you're in the office environment, the corporate world, it's
A
just
woman's
everything's the same.
a parrot escaped that was stuck up a tree.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah, they got to rescue a
I
parrot.
said, how can a bird be stuck up a tree?
And
We got there and we put, she was standing. No, bless her, she was half frantic.
So you got him back up the tree.
You know, I know what's going to happen. Got the ladder, put the ladder up and climbed up the ladder. And what do you know happened? Parrot flew off.
It's a bird.
Yeah, so. But to her, it was a traumatic event, and I get that. But you know, when you get black in, you get back. What I'm going to get next? I'm going to get duck trapped on pond.
So now, Steve, your hobbies, which is much more of a slower, calming pace. You've got your allotment. You've got your model making.
Well, these are good.
They are really good.
No, I didn't mean that. I mean, I'm all right at the bottom. They're good for taking your mind off something.
That's what I was going to.
They pull you into a completely different world.
Change your mindset.
So you're thinking about something completely different or whatever is going on in your life. And we've all got, we've all got jobs, kids. So everybody's got hassle problems with somebody to make a plastic aeroplane, and you think about something else for half an hour. And it's quite creative. It's like painting, I think. You know what I mean? It's got that sort of making things.
Yeah.
Fills you with like a sense of achievement. And my little allotment. I mean, I love my little allotment. That was a great thing to get into. I mean, I probably spend more money on compost and seeds and buying spades and things like that than if I just went to the wholesalers and bought massive amounts of carrots and leeks. I'm probably not even saving money if I'm being brutally honest on my fruit and veg. But it's just the fact that you do it yourself, and again, it's that creation thing, that little nurturing, that little half ugly looking carrot. Me and my good lady, we grow that from a little seed.
So it tastes so much better.
Yeah. And they do taste better, mate. They do taste better, right? But some of them are quite ugly, but they do taste better, right?
Oh, that's a lovely place to finish it, Steve. Book your allotments, and
I hope it's been all right, Alan.
And that's been
I'm not battling on too much.
No, good, mate. I quickly just ask you now a friendly fire question. I haven't asked you Loz's one yet, so we'll do that now. A bit out of sequence, but we'll do it. So, Loz's question was, if you were a flower, what would you be and why?
Well, you told me this one because I haven't heard last week's episode. So you only told us this about an hour ago, 40 minutes. I think I would have to be a daffodil. And you're going to say why a daffodil?
And why a daffodil?
Well done. A daffodil, because a daffodil is a very dependable flower. It's a nice flower. It does its job well, but it comes back every year. Never lets you down. Stable, steady, solid. Things like tulips are naff after 2 or 3 years. What you want to be, mate, in the flower world is a very old, stable perennial.
Stable, steady.
Yeah, something you can lean on.
Steve.
Well,
always will.
So I'd like to think maybe I'm an old beat up daffodil.
It'll always be there for you. It'll always come up. It'll always be there if you need it. For me, I think I will probably go sunflower. Obviously, for the giant height, but also wildlife love it, and I love wildlife. So plenty of birds and insects and stuff. And also, if you look closely, it's a giant, but it'll always be a little cane. Sometimes even the biggest need a little bit of support. So I think that's a nice one. I think that's pretty good, isn't it?
Clever,
so I think that.
Please, I thought of it.
Yeah. Now, moving on to your question, Steve, for our next battle guest. What's your friendly fire question?
Okay. You need to take it seriously.
Nah.
Or a bit of humour, right?
Okay.
What, in your opinion, in a sentence or two, is the secret to life? Do I have to see what I think it is?
For our YouTube watchers, yeah, what is your answer?
It's quite simple, actually. The secret to life is sincerity. Because once you can fake that, you can do anything.
Oh, what a great way to leave it. My brother, ladies and gentlemen, a battle guest, a person who served his community and probably saved many, many lives, and the odd parrot. And on behalf of the podcast, I just want to say thank you, Steve, to you and all the other retired firefighters out there, and not just talking in the UK, across the world, and also all those firefighters who are still currently serving. It's all thanks to you guys, and you're all heroes in our eyes. So I just want to say thank you to firefighters worldwide, and thank you, Steve, for being on the podcast.
Thank you, mate.
Cheers.
We are not heroes, but we are just ordinary people, like all of us are.
Running into the fire well whilst we are running away from it.
Sometimes.
Cheers.